Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fittest. My guest today is IFBB Pro Brooke Walker, here to talk about her amazing year. We're so excited for you. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. This year truly has been the most incredible year of my competitive history. So I'm still, the Olympia is over, but I'm still like on cloud nine. There has not been one day that has passed since I came off the Olympia stage that I haven't thought about the experience I had and what I'm going to do to ensure I'm better next year.
So awesome. I feel like your career has been like this, like it's been going in slow motion, and then somebody all of a sudden hit the fast forward and you're like finally got what you had been working so hard for the last 10 years.
Yes, you know, it's so crazy. And I've had a lot of moments within the past few years that have been like frustrating for me, or times where I'm like, is this worth it? Should I just hang up my suit and call it, you know? And then for whatever reason, I've just always kind of couldn't give it up. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how many times I got frustrated about whatever situation it was at that given time, I just was always looking for, what am I going to do next? What's the next show going to be? How can I improve? Or I continue to tell myself that I was going to make it to the Olympia eventually. So I just kept going. And this year was like amazing. I was just in the right state of mind. You know, competing in shows, multiple shows throughout a year has always been tough for me. And I've always had kind of like a history to almost feel like I've come in worse each show I go into, you know, and this year I didn't. And so that was something that I was so proud of. Literally each show that I did, I continued to get better, come in a little bit tighter. And just in all regards, like making tweaks on my posing, I felt like I was able to make adjustments there and even improve, you know, as time went on this year. So I was just unbelievably proud. I obviously know that there's a lot of room for improvement still, but I'm still on cloud nine.
It was awesome to watch. You were like, it makes me emotional because seeing you, I can still see it. And I was just like, you were like the happiest, most excited person to be on the stage because, you know, I know you had been working. It's just like all of a sudden you're on the Olympia stage and you just like, I think even the commentators were like, she's glowing. Like she just has this vibe and presence coming from her. And you just shined and just looked so perfect up there. It was so great.
You know, it makes me emotional to think about, like I'll start crying, but everything that I experienced on the stage at the Olympia, it was genuine. And so I don't even know why I'm crying. But I truly was glowing because I enjoyed it. And I had obviously had a really successful year, but I had a lot of challenges that I had to kind of overcome. So just being able to step on that stage and finally feel it and finally be able to say, I made it to the Olympia. I made it to the most prestigious stage there is in this industry. And regardless of the outcome, I can say that I'm an Olympian and I'm one of the best. That was just an experience that I will remember for the rest of my life. And whenever I went into the Olympia, I was like, I'm telling you, not to say that my prep for the Olympia wasn't challenging. It definitely was. And I was suffering and I knew kind of what I needed to do in order to be competitive at that level. But I just was there mentally, you know what I mean? Like I wanted it and I was excited. And so I told myself that no matter what happened going into the Olympia, that weekend was going to be a weekend that I was going to remember for the rest of my life. No matter the outcome, I was going to enjoy every moment of it, soak it all up. And I truly did. From the minute I arrived, I was like, just in complete, just awe of everything. And I enjoyed every athlete, every spectator, every staff member, like everybody that was there. I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the entire experience. And the only thing that I disliked about the Olympia was how quickly it went by. It went by way too quick.
It was the coolest thing. I'm sure I can't even imagine, you know, for you working so hard for this. And then, I mean, who gets top 3, you know, the Olympia, the first time they make it there, you know, it was Yeah. Even the images are embedded in my mind. Watching from the live stream was just so cool.
It was truly an incredible experience. Like everything that could have gone right went right, you know? So the cards all fell into place, and I'm so unbelievably grateful for the entire experience. And I obviously know that I have a lot to improve on still, but that's what I'm going to go doing. I guess that's what I'm going to focus on going forward, you know, to next year's Olympia.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what your thoughts are on what needs to be improved and what you're doing. But I wanted to just backtrack a little bit and talk about some of the events of the past year and what happened to make things different for you. Because I do know, you know, we're friends, and I do have a little bit of insight of you know, some of the things that worked out for you to make the Olympia really come together for you.
Yeah.
And also, you know, your coach, having worked with John Meadows, kind of gave you that, you know, here's somebody who also worked for 20 years, basically trying to get his pro card. So you had this awesome leader. Let's talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yes, you know, so it brings a smile to my face. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and looked at John's messages and just like my plan that he gave to me. And we had, you know, at the top of my plan, it just discusses kind of like what my goals were for this season. And it was obviously to get my Olympia qualification and win my first pro show. This year was my first pro win. And it was obviously my ticket to the Olympia. And it does bring a smile to my face because we achieved that. And John is one of the most incredible human beings I've ever been able to talk with, or, you know, and I value anything that he ever told me, whether it was bodybuilding wise, nutrition wise, fitness related, whatever, or just if it was advice on life, you know, I valued everything that he told me. And just, you know, and I'm not saying, obviously there's some coaches out there that are great, and then there's others that are maybe not so great, you know, but John, he was much more to me than a coach, you know, and it's crazy, but when I discuss him, I'm like, I talk to him almost as if he's like a father figure, you know, because I felt like John cared about my health. He cared about my well-being. He cared about me after I'm done with bodybuilding, you know? So he took all of those things into consideration. And I felt like he just genuinely cared. Like the goals that I had, he not wanted to necessarily reach them for his benefit, but he wanted me to reach them because that's what I wanted. And he wanted to help me reach my goals, you know? So it does bring a smile to my face. And I'm so grateful that prior to his passing, that he was able to witness me getting my qualification, because, you know, I expressed it all the time to John about how many times I'd been so close to not only like getting my Olympia qualification, but it took me forever to get my pro card in that sense. So, you know, I was always finishing at like second place and missing my pro card. So that was just a whole other issue in itself. And then once I make it to the pro league, it was a challenge for me to even get my qualification because I got second place like all the time. And so John could relate, you know, that I was just fighting for something and would always be so close, but just not quite good enough, you know? And it was awesome. The minute I came off the stage, I was nervous at the Europa. And I think, or the UVU Phoenix show, I was nervous because I knew kind of what was on the line. I knew that I had to win to get that qualification. And there was a time where I didn't know what was I going to do if I didn't win. If I got second place again, what was I going to do? I was going to just continue to hold out and diet, you know, or was I going to wrap it up and call it a year? I didn't know. And so I knew how much that show meant, you know, because it was either going to seal the deal and I was going to go to the Olympia, or it could have wrapped up my season, you know? So I was pretty nervous about it. And I sat there for the longest time, and on stage before they announced my name for the victory, I just was like, oh my God, just say my name. If I got second place, just say it, get it over with. I don't, you know, or if I won, give me my qualifications. So when they said my name, I was just really in shock. Like, what a huge relief too this was, and to get off stage and be able to talk to John on the phone and just sense his excitement because finally we did it, you know, and he was so just genuinely proud, you know, and that made me feel so good because John Meadows, who doesn't know who John Meadows is? So to like make an impact on him made me feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just, thank you, John, for helping me get here, you know. But he was an incredible person, and it's crazy to have literally been on this crazy high. And I was so excited, so excited. I just got my qualification. Finally, you know, John's telling me, he's like, we're basically working out this game plan that we're going to start this next Monday. And we were just pumped, and John was going to be there with me at the Olympia, you know, and I was so excited to have him there with me. And then the next day was like, you know, people start messaging me and they're like, is John okay? You know, and I obviously I'm like, surely this is not real. This isn't really happening, you know? And then sure enough, it was just like crazy. And I was on a plane actually with Joe Bayer from HG Physiques, and he's sitting next to me and I'm like, this is not real. This could not be happening, you know? And Joe was kind of trying to reassure me. He's like, maybe it's just, you know, people are kind of maybe saying some stuff on the internet, maybe it hasn't been confirmed yet. And then, you know, I'd sent a text to John and I was like, are you okay? You know, and that's just when I figured out that he wasn't, you know. And so it was hard, and it's still hard. I still struggle because I feel like there's a piece of me that's missing. And I feel sometimes like almost selfish because I'm like, I finally made it this far, you know, and I'm like, I feel like I needed John, you know what I mean? And it's hard. I don't want to feel that way because he left behind so many things that were so much more important and meaningful than an Olympia, you know what I mean? And I can't imagine how his family feels, how his sons, his wife, you know, what they must be going through. But I'm just grateful. And I try to remind myself that of every day, that I'm grateful that I was able to spend time with him, have great conversations with him, and that he was able to help me achieve ultimately what I wanted, you know, because I can tell you that he was an amazing person. Just, I truly, truly admired him. I looked up to him. He's an inspiration. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity that I did to even be a part of his life, you know. So I am grateful, but I still struggle with it literally every day.
Yeah, it was, I mean, John impacted so many people. I didn't know him, but I talked to him a couple of different times. I've met him a couple of different times. And he, you know, it's funny when you were talking about him, I was thinking about how you are very similar, because like people have, I think the same thoughts about you, Brooke, that you genuinely seem like you care about every single person and you do a lot to help a lot of people. And I think, you know, you guys are very similar that way, probably what a lot of the draw was with that relationship. So
yeah, you know, something that really stood out to me with John is everybody obviously knows who John Meadows is, everybody. Whether you look up his crazy, awesome workouts on YouTube, or if you had the opportunity to sign a photo with him at some point, if you were a friend of his, whether you were a client or athlete, whatever, he did care. And I was on the phone with him, and I think he was flying in for Chicago Pro. One of his, Teresa, she was competing in Chicago. And so he was flying in, he just landed, and he's talking to me on the phone, and somebody's asking for a photo with him, you know. He's on the phone with me, and he took a photo, and he was so genuine. And here I am on the other line, so I can hear him talking to this fan, and he just cared. I'm not even there, I can hear him on the phone, and I'm like, it brought a smile to my face because he was so genuine. And of course you can grab a photo, you know. And I really admired him for that, because John Meadows is a huge deal. He's got a crazy following. And for somebody like that, you see a lot of people, and not obviously just in this industry, I think just in life, they maybe become somebody, or they think they're this big of a deal, and they just kind of toss everybody to the side and maybe give them the impression that, or give others the impression that they have better things to do. And John has never done that. And that is something that I so admired of him because, like I said, everybody knows who John is, and he would stop for anybody. He would chat with anybody. I mean, just seemed like he genuinely cared. And that's something that I really, really admire him, not just from somebody within the fitness industry, just as a person. We should all strive to be like John.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. Because I felt like, honestly, I mean, we've had a lot of people pass away this year, and with that, there's usually 3 or 4 days where I'm just like, I don't want to do anything because it really hits you. And when he passed away, I think it was about 2 weeks where I just was really struggling with, because he was such just like this moral pillar of the bodybuilding community. And I just felt like, who's going to keep everybody on track? Who's going to be the role model now, And it's like what you said, you want more people to be like John so that it would just make the world a better place,
Mm-hmm. You truly just like hit the nail on the head with that, because that is true. Like, I almost feel like John was at like on the top tier of bodybuilding, because he was a great ambassador. He was a great role model for anybody and everybody. And he always just seemed super wise. And if John Meadows was talking to you, you better stop and you better listen. You know what I mean? Like, whatever he has to say, it's of value, and you should really, really feel just like honored that he's kind of giving you that time of the day. And he would do that for anybody, but you take into consideration anything he has to say and any sort of advice he's giving you, listen to him, and that is so true. Like, I wonder at this point, who's going to step up and kind of fill his shoes, because those are really some tough shoes to fill, but I truly obviously want somebody to kind of have his same morals and values and ethics going forward. So I truly hope that somebody does, but it's going to be tough. And I think the bodybuilding world will forever be changed, from his death and his passing. And I think obviously we had a lot of people this year in the industry pass that are huge names and have all kind of contributed to the bodybuilding community in some big ways, and to have lost them, we took a huge hit this year. And it's like, almost like, is this really happening? Is this a bad dream? Are we going to wake up from it? And like I said, I still struggle. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like this isn't, maybe it's because I never got any closure. And I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way in other regards, but I'm like, surely this isn't happening. Like, he's still around, it's crazy. I'm still in shock of it. I just try to remind myself that he would be so proud, and he helped do this. I wouldn't have made it without him. You know what I mean? So he was a great, great person. And something that I valued so much from him as a coach is that, like just this week, in fact, I saw somebody make this post about how they're not supposed to be your friend, they're your coach. And basically they're just hardcore mentality. And obviously, if you know me, I'm friends with like all of my clients. I am very friendly with them. I do want to like be a support system to them. And there's people that I have had to hold their hand through the entire process, whether it was just like a general lifestyle plan or whether it's a client that was competing. And I would never change that mentality. And I feel like John was similar in that regard, because John felt differently, but I felt like John was my friend. You know what I mean? We had conversations where it was much more meaningful than just, oh, you got to eat this, you got to train this way, and you can't slip up and blah, blah, blah. John obviously knew I was human. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. And that's something that I just loved, because I'm like, if John Meadows has that kind of mentality, then I'm okay. It's okay to not be hardcore. You know what I mean? So I feel like John was very intense, but he was very genuine. He was very humble. And that is just, he was like literally perfect. Like, he was so balanced in every regard, just the right amount of everything. So everybody took a hit by losing him,
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about going into the Olympia. I know, I mean, for people who don't know, you have a very physical life. You are constantly just moving, teaching classes, doing personal training.
Mhm.
And that you decided to change that a little bit going into the Olympia, didn't you?
I did. And let me tell you, I'm like convinced myself that I will do that from now on. I love what I do, and I'm a trainer. I teach group exercise classes. I manage a gym, and so I'm always on my feet. And I always get interrupted. So like I usually am like working 12-hour days and I space my workout kind of in the middle of the day. I don't think people understand because they're like, oh, just tell people you're training. That's not my style. So like if somebody comes and they talk to me about a workout or if they ask me a question, I will stop what I'm doing and talk to them. It's just the person I am, and that's just never going to change. But also, the gym I manage, if I have a member come into the facility that needs something, whether they need an adjustment on their account or whatever the case may be, I will also stop what I'm doing to go tend to them, because that's a business and I'm not going to be a jerk and say, sorry, I'm working out, I can't deal with you. It's not what I'm ever going to do. So this year I really knew, obviously going onto the Olympia stage, every girl on that stage is going to be doing everything in their power in order to be competitive. They're going to be on top of everything, their training, their sleep, their cardio, their posing, their nutrition, in every regard. And so I knew that every workout going forward had to count. Every training session, every cardio session, every posing session, sleeping, getting adequate amount of rest. I had to get it in, and I had a short amount of time at that point. So, and I obviously knew that I wasn't going to be able to like grow tremendous amounts of muscle in that time frame. Cause I think, I qualified like maybe 8 weeks out of Olympia. I had like 8 weeks to kind of get better. So my goal was like, we're going to come in tighter and kind of focus on some conditioning. So I left. I went to Florida for like the last 6 weeks of my prep, and I had the most incredible time of my life. My aunt lives in Florida and my cousins live in Florida, and they were just amazing. And they let me stay with them, and I trained. It was the first time in my life that I was completely able to focus 110% on myself. So sleeping, everything was on point. I mean, literally everything was on point. The things that like I could neglect, from like stretching, those things I didn't neglect there because I had time. I'm like, I have time to do all this. And I posed every single day without interruptions. I worked on my routine, my training, cardio, everything was completely on point. My eating was super, super regimented, water intake. And then I was not stressed. Like everyday stressors that I experience here that aren't negative stressors, but they are stressors. I deal with them on a constant, regular basis. I didn't have those there. So I think it truly, truly helped me. And I mean, it showed on my physique and I felt great. I didn't feel like beat down or run down. And usually going into a show, I do feel beat down. Not at the Olympia though. I did not.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense with your, teaching the classes and everything too. It's a lot of extra activity, which is, people think, oh, that's great, you're burning more calories. But for somebody like you, it's really causing a lot more like inflammation, making it harder for you to pinpoint what you need to do in order to, keep your physique looking like tight. It's stress. It's less stress.
It is. Yes. And I'm on my feet all day. So like whenever you say inflammation, it is crazy. My legs, especially by the end of the day, are like full of water. I'm holding all sorts of fluid. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I obviously know, but I'm like sitting here looking at my legs. I'm like, look at these things. Like you're supposed to step on the Olympia with those. Like you better get in check, So absolutely just like eliminating those kind of stressors. And I think sometimes you're so right. People think more and more and more, I need to be on my feet. I need to be super active. And yes, being active is great. And obviously you need to do cardio, but rest and recovery is huge, and especially when you are pushing your body to like surpass, like this is extreme. So you're fighting your body because your body obviously wants to remain balanced. It wants to stay in a balanced state. Well, you're telling yourself to go past that. So your body's kind of fighting against you, So Rest is huge. And I'm like a big advocate on that. I take my rest days. I enjoy my naps. I enjoy my sleep, and I'll tell you, it definitely showed because I was able to kind of completely focus on every single factor to make sure I had a very complete physique was taken into consideration. And that was probably, like I said, the first time that I was able to completely do that. So going forward, I will 100% do that next year. I'll leave like maybe 6 weeks again and then go focus on myself.
And you don't have to requalify, right? It's same with girls, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I'll tell you, my goal obviously going into the Olympia was top 5. And I knew that was a huge, huge goal. But I felt like I could do it and I was determined and I felt good. And so, usually top 5 in years past would requalify going into the Olympia. Well, they changed that. And I didn't know that until basically a few weeks after the Olympia, they had announced the qualification system and only top 3 requalified. So I was like, oh my gosh, you barely made the cut, which is a huge relief because I do have areas that I want to get better, and so I feel like I need this time to really take a true off season and put some good muscle in areas that needs it. And also just from like a recovery standpoint, I dieted this whole year. I was dieting. So like from January 1st forward, I've been like prepping, so my body, luckily, I didn't have any severe injuries. I had a couple of things like wear and tear stuff. But by the grace of God, no like major injuries, but I just knew from like a health standpoint, I had to take some time. So that was just a huge, huge blessing for me because I now don't have to requalify. That's obviously always been a huge stress in the past. It's just focusing on getting that qualification. Now that takes that out of the equation. So all I have to focus on is the Olympian itself. So I'm so excited. I mean, that's just it. I'm ready. I'm ready to get back on stage again. I just know that I have to have this time to work on some areas that need improvement.
That's really cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about who you're working with or who helped you through the Olympia and who you're working with now?
Yeah. So Andrew Barry, he took over my prep. And Andrew kind of worked under John as like his prodigy, so I felt like I struggled because there's a few days where I was like, I have to figure out something because this is going into the Olympia. It wasn't like, oh, you have 20 weeks until Olympia. It's like, no, you have 8 weeks. So you got to get on the ball. And I thought about it and I took advice from so many different people and kind of gathered like so many people's opinions, because I was sitting there and it was like I was telling myself to take steps forward, but I was just like in shock still, I guess, like, and not really knowing what route to take, and I felt like Andrew had worked under John. He was familiar with a lot of his methods. So Andrew helped me, and Andrew did great. Like Andrew was with me. He was knocking on my hotel room door in the morning at the Olympia, like every step of the way we were posing. And that's something too. He tweaked my posing, which was great. I mean, he made some really good calls going into the Olympia that I think were crucial. And he helped me. So going forward, I love Andrew and he's a great coach, but I don't know who I'm going to use going forward. And I know people like are on my case about it and they're like, you better figure this out, and I do, and I know, and I have been following John's rebound since I came off the Olympia stage. It just sometimes like I'm a very loyal person. So even though John's gone, it's still something that I struggle with because I feel like I want to do what he would want me to do, and so I'm still following like his protocol and everything, like going through my rebound. And I know it might sound silly or stupid, but it just makes me like, it gives me some peace of mind, going forward. But I don't know exactly who I'm going to use, but I'm obviously going to be using somebody that's, I feel will take me, I'm like, there's a lot of pressure on my back going into Olympia next year, because obviously I think who doesn't want to win? I definitely want to win. And I feel like that could be within grasp, and that's even crazy for me to think about, but I want somebody that's going to be able to help me get to that point. But I also want somebody that's going to be able to not fill John's shoes, but have the same connection and bond that I had with John. And like I said, I am a very like hardcore person. I will train hard and diet hard, but I'm also a human. So I don't ever want somebody to like be like harsh and brutal. And I'm not that type of person. I'm hardcore in a different, I guess, sense, you know, and John understood that. And I feel like John and I just meshed well. So like, I have to have a relationship with a coach. That sounds crazy, but I just, you know, I grew up playing sports, and I think back at every coach I had growing up, they were a good role model for me too. And they did care about things like my health, and they wanted the best for me, not just from like a physical standpoint and athletic standpoint, but just like health, longevity, emotional, you know, they just wanted good things for me. And so I will always think that that's what a coach should be, regardless of whatever it is that they're coaching you through. And so that's what I want, somebody to kind of fill those shoes that John kind of had, you know? So I don't know. I'm indecisive, but I have been training hard and dieting great, you know, rebounding perfectly. So I'm excited to see kind of what I'll do next year.
Yeah. Have you thought about that? Like, you could do this on your own for the most part with his guidance, and then maybe grab somebody to be eyes again last 8 weeks or something?
Yes. So it's so funny you say that, because I've had a couple people say that to me, like,
yeah,
you know what to do, you have his plan. And I am a very simplistic person. I mean, going into the Olympia, like, I am so simple, it's crazy. So like, Andrew would laugh at me because I'm like, I just have a lot of fish and asparagus and cream of rice. Like, that's all I want to eat, you know? And that's what I was eating. And some people, and that was not even a call like that Andrew made, you know, I was just like, hey, this is easy for me. It does not bother me to eat literally the same foods every single day, you know? And so from like a standpoint on that, it does not bother me, you know, like I don't really need a lot of variety in my training or my diet, you know? So I have thought about that. Where I struggle is, you know, you start to diet down and I'm like, am I improving? You know, I'm like looking at my physique and I'm like, I don't really look too good, you know? And then the next day I'm like, oh, you look so great. Like, you're ready, you're on point. So I don't trust myself in that sense, you know, because now obviously I've been like, you know, able to kind of increase my calories a bit and relax and not do like all sorts of freaking cardio. You know, I've been able to look at like my progress photos leading up to the Olympia. And it's funny because I remember looking at these photos at the time and I was like, oh, you're not lean enough. What are you thinking? And now I look at it and I'm like, you're an idiot, Brooke. So in that sense, somebody has to be in control, because they can have an outside eye, and obviously they're not stressed about the situation. You know, I'm looking at my physique and freaking myself out and increasing my stress. So I do think that it's important someone has eyes on me from the very beginning, because otherwise I might sabotage myself. I do not trust myself in that sense. But I'm an easy person to coach. You know, if I trust somebody, you tell me what to do, I'm going to do it. And that's something too, John he never seemed worried ever. He never seemed worried that I was off track or I was behind ever. So, and believe me, I thought that 100 times, you know, but for whatever reason, I was never stressed about it because John wasn't stressed about it. So I thought, he's not worried, I'm not going to worry about it. You know, that's what he's there for. So I need that like stress taken out of the equation, and I need that stress on somebody else, not me.
I think that this is almost like your not like a dating app, but sort of like the same way where you're like, okay, I've put all the information out there so people can start sending in their resumes and I'll figure out who's gonna.
You know, and I feel like you do have to mesh with a coach. And for whatever reason, the first time John and I had like talked on the phone prior to all of this, I was like, you're the one. You know what I mean? Like, there was just something about him. I just felt like, okay, this is it. You know, there's that connection. And you talk to some coaches and there's nothing against any of them. Some of them are phenomenal coaches, obviously. But like, if there's not that chemistry between the two, I'm like, oh, I don't think this will work, you know? So that is important to me. And that's something that I will strive for with whoever it is, whatever route I choose to go, because I do want a relationship with this person, you know, and that's meaningful to me because this is a big step, you know, like I want, and I envision, it's so crazy, but like, I just think about coming off the Olympia stage and I just, how much I wish John was right there to like congratulate me, you know? And so next year, regardless of the outcome, whether I do well or I tank, whatever happens, I want that person to be there, you know, because they were there the entire process to get me to that point. So I want them to be there when I finish it, you know? So I want somebody that's going to stand just as proud, you know, with their head held high and in support of me. You know, I think about it in a sense that all of the athletes that I have had compete, and whenever I go and I watch them compete, it brings me such satisfaction because I've endured what they've gone through. I know like everybody's different, obviously, but I've seen some of their struggles and obstacles that they've had to kind of overcome to make it to that point. So to like see them achieve that goal is so rewarding for me. And I just enjoy watching them, and I enjoy like hugging them and congratulating them after they walk off stage. So I want that for myself too. And that might be selfish, but I don't know, but I do want that.
Yeah. I hope that person is out there that you can pass this torch to. You know, they are big shoes to fill, but I think if you have that expectation and you kind of know what you're looking for, somebody is going to step into place. I really believe that.
Yes, I'm, you know, the glass is always half full. So I know they're out there, and I know that I'm going to figure it out, you know, and I've kind of given myself all sorts of deadlines, you know, on things like I need to have this done by this date, you know, and so I've kind of given that to myself from a coaching standpoint too. So, and I think I do want to reiterate, like to people, like just because it's, you know, been like 2 months post Olympia, like I haven't just been gorging out of my mind, not training, like that's never stopped. So I always like to tell people, like, just because there's not somebody that's completely in charge of me rebounding right now does not mean that I have stopped in any regard. I have like came off the Olympia stage and I haven't taken any time off from the Olympia. You know, I was so motivated. I'm still so motivated. I think about it every day when I train of becoming better, you know, and that's kind of what is helping me kind of get through it. And I feel good, you know, I'm enjoying some foods obviously now, but I'm eager to train. I'm excited to train. I'm just looking at every training session as an opportunity to get better for next year.
Yeah. Having some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh my God, way too much. I'll tell you, they have these like new, like gourmet peanut butters at Kroger. Oh my gosh, I can't have them anymore. Like if it's in the house, I will eat the whole jar. And it's like a smaller jar, but it's still like 8 servings of peanut butter that has like white chocolate and cherries. Yeah. Delicious. I don't recommend trying it because if you mess up and eat it, you'll be hooked. So every time I go to Kroger, I like go down the peanut butter aisle and I'm like, oh, don't look at it. But I love it. It's delicious.
I feel like peanut butter is a huge craving when you get like closer into the depths of prep because your body wants that fat so bad. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Can't have it around.
No, like, and it's so funny because you'll have those moments of weakness and you're like, it's almost like you black out and you eat like the jar of peanut butter. And then I come to and I'm like, what have I done? You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, like it's like a murder scene or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember doing this, you know? But yeah, peanut butter going into the Olympia, I've truly, and even now I still have to like portion out my peanut butter because if it's not in like those portioned out cups, I'll eat a jar in like 2 days. It's gone. I'm like, how did this happen? Somebody ate my peanut butter. It was not me.
It was one of your dogs.
Exactly. Who got into this?
They're like, no. How many dogs do you have?
3. Mm-hmm.
3. Okay.
3. They're crazy, all of them. Every single one of them.
Who was watching the puppers when you went to Florida?
So Anthony, he's Anthony Sacomani. He's the owner of the gym that I manage. He had him and I'm so grateful because truly I have said this so many times, like I do have an army of support. And it was just like, when I made the decision to leave to go to Florida, it was like everybody stepped up and was like, yes, this is something that you have to do. Anthony took control of the dogs. I had some trainers at my gym that actually took some of my clients for me and they were still training them there at the gym while I was gone. So they stepped up. All of my clients were cheering for me and so proud and they wanted me to go. And it's just, they were so proud. They're still so proud. Now I get blamed for like a lot of their bad choices that they made while I was gone. But you know, that's okay. They're back in the gym. They're like, I don't know what you expected. This is your fault. You left me. But it made me feel just like truly blessed and fortunate, because there was not one person that didn't want me to do well and go there, you know? So that in itself was just amazing. I truly, truly am fortunate. And so I cannot think, there's so many people that we would be here all day, because literally so many people helped me get there.
Yeah. Well, it's just the best. You just had all things considered, everything worked together to have this happen for you. And yeah, having been watching you for the last at least 5 years, you know, super fun.
You know, hilarious, because I laugh about it now. And I mean, at the time I wasn't laughing, but now I do laugh about it because it is funny. And you just got to kind of like make light of the situation. But it is funny to look back and see how many times I'm like, second place again. Like I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, give me my dang second place medal. My gosh, I can't even believe this is happening again, you know, but it's funny. And I have been a fighter my entire life. And it's like nothing's ever been handed to me, you know, and I'm not complaining about that at all. But I think that's what's helped me continue. Whereas a lot of people, and I would understand if some people would walk away, and I get it, you know, I completely understand that, you know, and there's times where I obviously was like debating on that myself, you know, but like I was saying earlier, for whatever reason, I couldn't give it up, and I'm not a quitter. I will fail multiple times before I quit, you know, so I just kept going, and I intend to kind of keep going, and until it becomes something that I don't want for myself anymore. I'll continue to compete, you know, and if it becomes not fun, you know, because the funnest part about it is being on stage for me. Like when you see me and you say that I'm glowing, like I'm so in my zone and I love it. And I just am truly having the time of my life. And there's never been a time, now there's been times on stage where maybe I felt like I could have been better, but every time I'm on stage, I'm still having so much fun. And I just know that I can't give it up. Not yet, you know? So, and obviously I want to win, and that's something that's huge on my to-do list, but I just enjoy it. You know, I truly enjoy it. I enjoy all the relationships I've got from competing and from bodybuilding, and just the memories that I've had and the opportunities that I've had purely based off of bodybuilding and competing. And if I hadn't chose to continue to compete, those opportunities would have never been brought forth to me. So I can't give it up. You know, I love this sport. I love the people. I mean, you're a prime example. Like I just, from the minute we met, we just hit it off. And I feel like that's something, if I didn't choose to compete, I would have never had that, you know? So there's so many other things that mean so much to me, and they're very valuable to me, and valuable experiences that I feel like I would have missed out on if I chose not to compete. So I'm in it for the long haul.
I love that. I was going to say, selfishly, I feel like when if I were to say like my personal opinion, I personally would love to see you as Miss Olympia, just because I felt like when I saw you up on stage, my eye was just drawn to you. And I feel like that's a lot of what judging is, because your eye can see what a complete package looks like. And when you see all of the elements, and, you know, the other competitors, a lot of people have different things about them that stand out. But to me, like, you just stand out. Like, you are the complete package. And I just really feel like you would just be the best representative of women's physique. So I'm hoping for the best year for you, to see that for you to happen.
Thank you. You're going to make me get emotional. I'm very, you know, so many people have, like, the amount of support and that I've got from people, and just that regard, how people message me and they have said that I have given them hope, you know, to compete in women's physique again, because they feel like it's kind of going back to where it was intended to be, you know, and that the judges kind of made a stand, or, you know, a point, like, we do still want girls to be beautiful and feminine within the physique division. And you don't have to be, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody by any means, you know, because I know those girls work so hard and they truly look amazing, you know, but whenever I compete, I do want to bring what I believe to be what's considered women's physique, but I want to cover all components. So like, just like you said, I want to be a complete physique, you know, like maybe somebody might have like a better back than me, which I definitely think is the case, but you know, that doesn't mean that they're the most complete physique, you know? So I think kind of the way I go to is you might not understand bodybuilding, but you know, it's kind of pleasing to the eye. So whenever somebody's drawn to somebody on stage, that is really, really important to me. And, you know, I am a woman and I do want to feel good and I want to feel pretty and beautiful. So that's a huge, huge, you know, thing for me when I'm on stage. You know, I know maybe muscle on a woman's not for everybody and that's okay, you know, but I do want to show not just women, but like men, everybody, that you as a woman, you can step on stage and you can be muscular and you can still be beautiful, you know? So if I'm able to kind of like represent that, that's huge for me because that does mean a lot to me. And that's going to be my goal going into Olympia next year. You know, I'm still going to have my line that I'm not going to cross. And I'm still going to bring what I believe is the best physique for the women's physique division. So it's still keeping all of those components, you know, beauty and a good muscular physique, but it's not over the top, and a good balance between conditioning, you know, not being too hard, not being too conditioned, dry, things like that. So I'm going to keep all those components like in the back of my mind, you know, so whenever I'm training, I'm just going to try to bring a good, complete physique next year. It'll be like Brooke version 2.0, right?
It'll be so great. It'll be so great. I know, you know, I was thinking about like all the times that even as a young, like as a little kid, I would bring Anna to bodybuilding competitions. She'd be able to pick winners because, you know, even kids know like you said, what's pleasing, what's aesthetic. They don't even know all of the, you know, conditioning, symmetry, balance, you know, all those things, but in their mind, you can see what, you know, what you're drawn to.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's huge for me. So like whenever I'm training somebody and they're going to compete, I'm like, the minute you step on stage, I want everybody to be drawn to you. You know what I mean? That is my goal. That's my goal as an athlete, as a competitor. That's my goal for all of my athletes and all of my competitors too, you know, demand that attention. And because I look at somebody on stage and I might not have any idea who they are, but I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something about them. They're just radiating. They're confident, you know, and you know what's pleasing to the eye and you're drawn to them. It's like every pose they do, like you just find yourself drawn back to looking at them, you know? So that is my goal. And I always want the minute I stand on stage, I want everybody to look at me and be like, wow, look at me in a good way, not be like, oh, Brooke's not in shape. You know, that's happened too. Like, oh, that's not the best version of Brooke I've seen, but hopefully next year I'm confident that it will be. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm going to test it.
You're so funny. So is back, like, is that you always talk about your back. You always think that's like a weak point of yours. I don't honestly see it, but.
You know, I really, this year, I think obviously was the best my back has ever looked. I do think that my back is very detailed whenever I get conditioned, you know, like when I get in shape, it's very detailed, but I lose some of like maybe the thickness and width. So I do think in that regard, I could be a little bit better. I'll tell you, this is like the first year on Olympia. And I don't know, I have no idea. And this could just be how I was like interpreting it. But whenever I went on stage for prejudging for my individuals, you know, it was like, I hit my rear double and I swear I heard people like screaming, and they probably, who knows if they're screaming for me or screaming for something else. I don't know. But I took it, I was like, oh, my back must look good. You know, that's what I'm thinking on stage. So I like open up and hit a rear double again. And that was such a proud moment for me, because anybody that knows me, just like you said, I'm always like, my back needs to improve, you know? And so to stand on stage and hit my rear double again, I'm like, that's big for me, because usually I'd hit it and be like, all right, let's go on to the next pose, you know? But I definitely want to improve there, but I am so proud of all the improvements I have made. And it's really great for me to be able to stand and hit a rear double and be confident in it, you know, because in years past, I'm very confident from the front, you know, I feel like I'm more complete from the front. And then I would turn to the rear and I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is where they're going to be like let down. You know, but now I feel really good. I just obviously I'm going to make some adjustments to my training and kind of really focus on my back a little bit and try to make my weak points my strong points, you know. And I will tell you, coming off of Olympia, I've enjoyed training back. Back was always a muscle group that was not my favorite to train. So I'm learning to enjoy it.
Is some of that incorporating then, like, are you doing more back days, or are you dividing it up more into like a width day and a thickness day? Have you thought about how you're going to, you know, plan for that?
Yes. Usually in years past, I've always been pretty routine. So I would train legs twice a week and I would do chest, tricep, shoulders, and then I would train back, you know, and then I would do like an arm shoulder day. But this go around, I am training back twice. So I'm actually continuing my leg sequence. Like I'm training legs twice a week. I'm training back twice a week. And then I kind of do chest, tricep, shoulders, arms all together, which is kind of tough for me because I've always enjoyed training chest, you know, that's like a strong point for me. I like it because I'm good, you know, and I'm strong there. And so I've kind of like put that on like the back burner a little bit and not putting so much emphasis on it and putting emphasis on my back that needs to improve. I've just been doing tons of rack pulls. I've always have started with pull-ups whenever I train back, you know, always. So now I've kind of changed it in a regard that I'm doing like as many sets as it takes me to complete like 50 pull-ups. So like the first set, if I'm able to do 20, that's fine. And then it might be like, 20, then I can only do 10 the next set. But regardless, however many sets it takes me to get to 50. And I start that with every back day. So I'm doing that twice a week, lots of rack pulls, lots of barbell rows, dumbbell rows, you know, meadow rows. I'm doing all the things for back, you know, and I have been unbelievably sore. So I feel really good. I feel accomplished. And I am making sure that every time I train that I'm leaving it all there, you know, so whenever I walk away from that training, you know, I feel good and I feel like I literally couldn't have done another rep. So I am doing good in that sense. You know, some days my strength is better than other days. Like this week I felt like really weak doing rack pulls, and last week I felt really good. So, but that's just, you know, kind of how it goes from time to time. But I'm not getting in my head. I'm like, you're doing your rack pulls and that's what counts. So let's focus on that.
It's the ebb and flow. Have you ever thought about seeking out another gym where you could just train to like?
Yes, I have. Okay. So at one point I did have another gym membership and I would go there, and it's not that I dislike the gym, but I love my gym. You know, we have all the pieces in there that I want to use. It is not like a box gym. It's kind of like, you know, I'm not going to necessarily call it like a meathead kind of gym. There's obviously competitors that train there, but the approach that the owners use for this gym is that like, it truly caters to everybody. So like, and they will obviously want that from like a business perspective because it's going to help them be successful, because they have to evolve with times and have to kind of cater to people that are like coming to be members of their gym, you know, so they can't just cater to bodybuilders and powerlifters and things like that. They cater to them, yes, but they also cater to everybody else, you know, and that's something that I just admire about that gym, because again, I'll tell you, I'm hardcore and to a certain extent, but I'm also still human, you know, so I just love being there, and I love the equipment that they have. I love the people that are there. So it's hard for me to like go elsewhere and train when I want to be there. It's just sometimes I'm like, hey, I really have to get this training done uninterrupted, you know? So I think I've been kind of changing my training time, and that has been helping me. And I just have been really focused on like buckling myself down and not really like paying attention to outside factors. And it seems to help, you know? So the closer I get to the Olympia though, next year, I probably will definitely step away.
Yeah.
In my elsewhere, might leave for a little bit, just to ensure that I'm doing exactly what needs to get done,
Yeah. I think it's always nice to have like a gym that you can just go to once in a while that you like just to get away. I train at Planet Fitness a lot now, but I also have like a good bodybuilder gym that I go to. Yeah. And when my original gym shut down actually right before COVID, having nothing to do with COVID. Yeah. But I'd go to Planet Fitness if I just thought like, I don't want to, you get like, sometimes you get bodybuilder drama.
That is so true. That is so true, isn't it? We have bodybuilding drama at my gym too. Don't worry.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just like, or I'm like, oh, I want to feel like a big person. So then I go to Planet Fitness.
Hey, I'm all for a change of scenery too. It just sometimes it's nice to get away, Yeah. And what I'm so guilty of, nobody at our gym knows how to re-rack weights. Like if you only knew, I go to the gym in the morning and I have a minor meltdown every day when I'm like, nothing's re-racked. Great. And so whenever I'm working out, I catch myself like re-racking things and picking things up, and that's like, again, that's one of those stressors that I'm not even like aware of because it's just something that I deal with every day. So like whenever I go elsewhere to train, I don't worry about stuff like that. I'm focusing completely on my workout and what it is that I'm doing, not worrying about, somebody at the front counter. Let me pick up this weight. There's like 45-pound plates everywhere, or they're like set up against the machine. So if they would have just lifted them like 2 inches higher, they could have racked them, but they didn't. It's notorious.
Yeah. Of attachments next to the cables instead of in the rack where they're supposed 100%. To be.
Yes. I'm so glad it like happens elsewhere because I swear every day it's like a minor freak out in the morning every day. So I just am like, why wouldn't this look like this? That's kind of my mentality. Why would people re-rack their weights? I don't know.
It's so funny to think about. I mean, I've talked about this several times with different people about like gym pet peeves, but I always think about like, we're all trying to share space. And I feel like sometimes people are just really oblivious. I mean, you've had people, I know you have had people who leave like squat, like bars loaded with clips with like, 3 plates on. Like
they just walk right off.
Yes.
I'm like, what? It's so we have what we call like the aerobics room, and it's where all of our classes take place, and we have like a turf and a sled in there. And so this is a couple weeks ago, this like group of guys, they had this sled like completely maxed out loaded, and I'm like, first of all, they probably weren't even pushing it. I don't know what they were doing, but they just like walk right out. And I'm like sitting there like, you're going to do that right in front of me? And I did say, I'm like, please re-rack your weights. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get that, and I'm like, thank you. Yes, you will. Because I don't want to have to deal with it. And I'm like, the person that's going to have to go over there and re-rack it is me. That's me. So maybe I should like, thank everybody for not re-racking their weights. Like that might be like my active recovery. It's helping me get better. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, they're just messing with me. I'm convinced that people are just messing with me in there.
It would be okay if you didn't have the aggressive stress that comes with it, where you're like angry at the same time.
I know.
It was more pleasant, No. Yeah. Gosh. It is crazy the stuff that you, or like, people hog stuff, or they're like on their phone. But like I had the other day, there were 3 guys on cables and like everybody was pausing in between. And I asked each one of them, like, how much longer, and like, nobody would let me work in. And I was just like,
you're like, it's not meant to be. Not meant to be.
My word. Okay. I think I was pissed. Like, I don't usually get pissed, but I was just like, because you know what, you have a plan, like I have a plan when I go into the gym. I know exactly what I need to do. Like I get it done when I'm on a machine or whatever. I move on to the next thing. Like, yeah, I'm not just like looking at my phone, I don't even know. I don't know.
But it's just crazy because sometimes they're just completely oblivious. You ask them, hey, how many more sets do you have on that? And it's like, I have 3, and they're down on their phone. I'm like, can you do your 3 sets, please? Like, can we speed this process up? But it's crazy. And sometimes I'm like, are you just oblivious? Are you being rude? Or I don't really know how to read the situation, but whatever, but I don't know if like proper gym etiquette even exists anymore. I mean, it blows my mind, but I just try not to take like anything too serious. I just like laugh. Like my motto, I've been reading like, like a self-help book, and it's like, don't sweat the small stuff. So I literally say that I like say it to everybody. I'm like, don't sweat the small stuff. The small, don't sweat it, And I also, as I'm reminding myself of that every day.
Ugh, yeah, I think you do have to. I was gonna say, my thing about the cables is like it's not heavy. Like you aren't taking cable work is not like large rest periods in between.
Yes.
Or because you're doing arms or you're doing shoulders or something. So yeah, you're alternating. It's like you get it done. Just get it done. Like,
it should not be taking you forever. Yes.
No.
It's not heavy working sets. Yeah.
No.
Completely. So right. But it seems to take forever for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, some of these people are like doing the whole stack for arms, and it's like a full body movement. So maybe.
Oh yeah. Maybe that's their goal. If I do this, I'll completely work every muscle in my body.
You need to rest longer in between, but
true.
Yeah. But in the meanwhile, I could work in.
Exactly. I need to work in on those rest periods, please.
Please. We can be friends. Can't we be friends?
I know.
But yeah, that's just, you go to the gym, you deal with people, you're going to always have to learn how to share space and try to figure out what other people are doing. So.
Oh yeah. It's just, shake my head, laugh, whatever. It's like, just make light of it.
Right.
Don't take anything too serious.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, well, Brooke, it was so great catching up with you. Yeah, when you stepped off the Olympia stage, I thought, oh gosh, we need to talk about this because this has just been the craziest year for you. So
thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy it. And hopefully we'll do it again next year. And it'll be an even better year next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go but up. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. So Brooke, where can people find you if they're looking to follow your journey or connect with you?
So you can always look me up at Walker Brooke on Instagram, right? I'm going to be a little bit better about posting updates this year. So, and I've also had tons of people reach out to me about like being more active on my YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that's like 10 years old. So I don't even know what my YouTube is. Like it's probably Walker Brooke. I don't know, but okay. I'll be posting everything on Instagram. Walker Brooke. I will make sure that I'm keeping everybody updated on my training, my off season, and obviously going into my prep for the Olympia. So I'll appreciate all the support, and hopefully this will be the best year. The best is yet to come. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I 100% agree that this is going to be your best year for sure.
Yes.
Oh, all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Let's see, where was I going with this? You can find me on Instagram at BuffGang22. You can follow the podcast at The Women's Fittest, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And to remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day.